Welcome to the Cherland podcast, where I, Cherland, meet up with a musician, hear about what makes them tick, what kind of experience they're bringing into their musical world. On today's podcast, we have Meekoh, a songwriter with a very lovely voice, very lovely personality. I met here in Los Angeles at a gig called Lower Deck Sessions over in Encino. Meekoh and I are both part of the Breedlove Guitars family. He spent a ton of time living in Bend, Oregon, where Breedlove is based, and has been living in LA since 2017, writing, putting on shows of his own. His show series is called Under the Pine. You'll hear us talk a lot about a music video that he made during COVID while floating down the Deschutes River in Oregon, and I highly recommend that you watch it. It is gorgeous. So please enjoy this conversation between myself and Meekoh.
Thanks for hanging out with me. Today was the first day that I learned that your last name was Martinez.
That's right.
But now you just go by Meekoh.
Yeah. One name.
One name. One man.
Beyonce, Kanye.
Yeah.
Let's go son. Soon you will be Connor. That's it.
That's so true. I don't mind it. It's fun getting to learn about you. I mean, I met you through Lower Deck. Typically you don't ask someone their life story when you meet them, you know, in real life. So it was fun getting to read a little bit more of your life story, like starting out in 2009, like going from busking to bars to touring to moving down to LA to and that's where you are, going up to Jacksonville, Oregon through the pandemic, coming back down. It's a lot. You've done a lot of things.
I feel like a lot of us over the pandemic did a lot of things we probably weren't planning on doing. But yeah, no, you did. Did I tell you all that, or did you just look it all up?
No, I just looked that all up. So like the only thing that we actually talked about was, because this was right before I was moving to LA. So you were kind of like taking me under your wing and talking about just like being a good person, like in Los Angeles, and what it's been like for you in the first 2 years of like making friends, and like you playing at Lower Deck. That was your first show in years. So that was a real that was like a threshold for you that you were crossing through that night also. So which I didn't really understand at the time, but then I was reading the Ear Milk interview that you did, and it talked about moving up to Jacksonville to make sure that you're keeping your wife safe during because of illness throughout COVID. So she has cystic fibrosis.
For those of you who don't know, Google it. But it is a really hard, horrible disease to live with. But she's doing great right now. Thank the Lord. But before we start, man, I just want to say thank you for having me. I think this is such a cool thing that you do. I like, you know, I've been kind of creeping on you a little on the IG for the past few months, since we kind of connected, and trying to get to know you a little. And if I'm talking loud, I'm sorry, it's because my headphones,
you're good.
I can't hear myself.
It's great.
But anyway, so I just wanted to give you some love, man, and just tell you that I think it's really awesome that you're doing this. I think obviously not easy to get into the podcast world, because there's so many people out there trying to do it, and especially in this niche of music, it's not like you're covering tons of topics all the time. It's kind of like I don't want to say repetitive, but in a sense, you know, you're having a lot of artists come on here and share their stories and get their music out, and there is an audience for that. I just want to thank you for doing that, man. And as obviously, you know, because you're an artist as well, that, you know, we got to just do what we can do to share our art. You giving us a little platform like this, and hopefully someday it becomes a bigger one, or someday hopefully you're just touring and you don't have time for this. But anyways, so thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it, and I don't get tired of the subject at all. It's very close to home, so I really appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, well, so to touch on each thing, I think so. The time we met, I think it's also, there's something about people's energy. So I felt your energy right away, and I felt like you were just a great guy. You obviously had your wifey there as well. So you both were just really cool people to me. You know, you expressed you might be moving here, and I just have a soft spot for that too, because obviously I know what it's like to make that transition. And anybody watching this would probably understand, if you've moved to LA, it's not an easy decision to make, even though you might think as an artist it would be. But you really are leaving a lot of comfortability security sometimes, family and friends, and a whole lifestyle that you've developed. So when I saw you at the show and saw how talented you were, but also, because I think at that time even you were like saying it's something we're trying or planning on doing, and I was like, you got to do it, just do it. But I'm so glad you did, and welcome to LA. I know you've been here for a while now, but welcome. And yeah, and then thanks for checking out all my info, because it saves me having to retell it, you know.
Yeah.
But the wifey thing, to Oregon, to touch on that real quick, I can't really explain what it's like. I think everybody went through their own thing during COVID, but for me and my wife, with her cystic fibrosis, it affects her lungs. It's a very deadly disease, so she can't be around anything that could potentially get her really sick, especially a respiratory type thing. Yeah. COVID is respiratory. So we were in Academy Village. Shout out to Academy Village in North Hollywood. Everyone watching this probably knows what that is if you're from the LA area, because it's usually where all the artists go through at some point. Cool. It's a very popular spot. But we couldn't stay because there were so many people and such a high risk for her. So we moved to Oregon. Spent some beautiful times there. Her parents own this little vacation house in Jacksonville, which is a gold mining town. So yeah, we were just like, I don't know, just like kind of cozied up in a little cabin, and from there we just waited out COVID until we felt safe enough to come back. Yeah,
that's it's so interesting because there's parts of it that were just like so scary at the time, but like also looking back on it, like there was like 2 weeks where like nobody was working, and it was just like my wife and I in the house, and we were trapped. You were like actually trapped. But now it's interesting, like looking back on it and being like, wow, like I don't know that we ever had that, like apart from our honeymoon, we didn't really have like a set apart time of like, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to visit anyone. We're not going to like, we're just going to hang out together, and being like, part of it got really boring, but like looking back on it being like, that was actually a really interesting time. It's a very unique flavor. Like what was that like for you artistically to be in that space?
Well, yeah, I mean, blessing and a curse, you know. It's like you're blessed with this immense amount of time that you're able to spend with yourself. You're not distracted with the everyday, you know, hustle and bustle of LA. And also it forced me specifically, I guess, to really reevaluate what's important. And for me, it was just like, you know, really easy to get in your head as an artist of like, am I ever going to make it? Do people even care? Da, 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 da. But at that point, it was kind of like, I don't really care anymore about that. I just care about my little family, my little puppy, you know. So it really did kind of finite what mattered most. So I was able to write a lot. And I was able to sit there and do probably something that most artists would cringe at. But I mean, I was just like, when I would start recording a song, I would do just hundreds and hundreds of takes of the vocal just on one spot, because I was just like, I got nothing but time. I just want to like explore my voice. I want to explore texture and color and sound and vibrato and falsetto. And like, so I would take something and flip it, turn it into some more like a reggae feel, turn it back into like a folk feel. I mean, I was just having fun. I kind of missed that part of it. And then the curse side of it, obviously, was just shows. And at that point, I had just put a band together. We had just done a few shows, and I was just getting ready to like put a tour together and try and hit up some record labels and like and do it, you know, finally like the right way I've always intended to. So that part of it, especially the live performance side of it, which is my favorite, hands down, like side of music. I love writing. I love obviously the connection you get to a song, but for me, there's nothing like a performance, especially when that performance kind of takes you somewhere else. There are those occasional performances where you're like, dang, I wish I could get that one back, because I kind of, you know, wasn't my best. But I've learned to let those go. They're far and few between now. I don't care if I'm pitchy anymore. Like I don't try to critique myself as much. And anyways, that to me was the hardest part of COVID with music artistically, just being away from those intimate moments with your fans and meeting friends, and just exploring like your artistic expression on a stage versus like what we're doing in front of a screen all the time and a cell phone all the time, you know. So that's kind of how that went.
During the time that you were up there, is that also the same time that you made the video for From the River as well? While you were living up there? I always had this vision in my head. Anybody who hasn't seen the video, I think it's worth a watch because it's a unique video. Logistically, I'm fascinated by like what you had to do for it. So I have a lot of logistics questions.
Yeah, I love talking about that because I did put a lot of love into it, and I had a lot of other people that put some love into it with me as well. Because that's the one thing about those kinds of videos is it takes a little team. You can't just do that by yourself. Obviously, it would have been hard to play guitar floating down a river while flying the drone at the same time. So but yeah, so I mean, thank you for even saying that you like it. I mean, I think during COVID, it was like, how can I be creative? I think as an artist, everybody wants to try and tie, or I mean, most people try and tie some kind of beautiful thing or like the right thing to whatever that form of art is. And for music, you know, like visual things are so impactful. And it's hard because it can really, it could also deter you from what the song really is about if you do it wrong. So I felt like once I had the vision, I knew what I wanted. I knew how it needed to be, and I just made it happen.
What do you mean that the trying to attach it to beauty can sometimes deter you from what it's all about? What does that mean?
Well, so I own a film company as well. So I'm in film. I work a lot in film, and one of the things you learn is like sometimes when you're creating a visual for something, and again, this is my personal opinion, but you can almost. Okay, another way of putting it is like when you're recording a song, sometimes you can do too much with a song. You don't need 1,000 different types of keys and things happening all at once, right? It's like sometimes it's simple things. The silence pulls somebody in. And so for me in film, that's some of my favorite kinds of film is the ones that let the story breathe, that let the song really lead, if you will. So that's kind of what I wanted with this is I wanted to create something visually that was beautiful but not taking away from what the song was trying to also do. It's like finding that happy balance, and everyone has their own taste, you know, so that's why art is art. But for me personally, you know, I think, I don't know if that helps a little explain that, but I try to keep things simple as I'm learning and growing. I've made a lot of things in my past that were not simple. I was trying to just be cool. I was trying to figure out what keeps people's attention, and like, and all of a sudden I'm deterring from, you know, the whole purpose of the video was to support the song. So finding ways and balancing things in a way to do that makes sense is, it's not always easy, and I think a lot of times too, people are afraid to try things because they're afraid to look stupid and to fail. So And so you look at a blueprint from someone else, you know, another artist that's got millions of streams, and you're trying to do what they're doing, and it doesn't come across authentic. That's probably the main thing, is authenticity. And I think that I feel confident in saying I accomplished that in that video, is I didn't take away from the song. I feel like it only added to it, and I feel like I was authentic to myself, and I found a creative way to express myself through the song. Visually. Absolutely.
It was interesting, like you talked about like the role of space, and they're like leaving things simple and like giving it some space, and like some of those shots of you floating down the river, you just realize like how gorgeous the rocks underneath the water are, and you're like, wow, that is a cool shape. Like that rock is like just one big trapezoid that he's about like that you're like you're not hurtling towards it, but like you're about to hit it, and then it like cuts to a new shot. And you're like, I noticed myself enjoying the topography of the land.
Oh, cool word. What does that word mean?
Just like the like difference in elevation, like the way the way that the land is shaped vertically. It was beautiful. What's interesting is I feel like we all try to avoid being cheesy, and so we think about like what are the cliche things that we shouldn't do. And then you watch a Disney movie and they hit you with all the cliches and you're crying. And you're like, well, but it works. Like, why does it work certain times? And like, there's the, like one of the shots toward the end where you're like coming out of the ocean. And then you like cut to a wide shot of your wife. And it's like, it's a beautiful shot. And like, I got a little misty eyed and I was like, I knew the shot was coming.
Yeah.
I could guess what it was going to look like. But I didn't expect it to look exactly like that. And it like I like laughed at myself that affected me emotionally. I was like, my gosh, good job, man. Because I like, you know, like it's like the end of High School Musical when it's like, are they going to win the championship? I don't know. And then they do. And you're like, you still feel excitement. You know, it's like, I felt like you really accomplished that. And I was like, this is cool. And then you just like walk out into the ocean and then drone flies into the clouds. It was like, it was, yeah, it was like hitting all the beats, but in like a really, you did a great job. You're great at your jobs.
Thank you. Well, a lot of it is like, to your point, there is like timing, in the edit too. I mean, the edit I did several versions. I'd have my friends come over and watch, and I would just listen to their like the way that, I know it sounds silly, but even the way like you're saying, like they would breathe. Sometimes they're trying not to cry, or they're like, oh my god, you know, like,
yeah.
And like some of the times I would show certain people, and it's not that it had to be perfect for them. It was just like you could feel sometimes the energy in the room.
Yeah.
And as you're making music, it's very similar. You can show your wife a song, and she's like, oh, that's cool. And then sometimes you show her and she's like crying already, you know, like, that's the favorite song you've done, you know? And film is very similar in that way. Everyone's going to have their own taste, but at the end of the day, you can still not like something, but have an immense amount of respect for it. Yeah. And that's kind of what I shoot for. It's like, I'm not trying to please everyone. I just want to be a respected artist. And, you know, it's not easy to obtain. There's so many obstacles in creating something, you know, that can happen, whether it's your mental state, financially, neighbors mowing the yards while you're trying to record, you know, like whatever. But that particular video is just such a special video. We shot it in Bend, Oregon. So to go back to you said topographical? Topography. Yeah. So the topography side of things, or the natural beauty and landscape, was so just like incredible to experience from my position. So I lived in Bend, Oregon for a long time. Used to run that river every day. I used to run down there, chill, play guitar, write songs. It was literally in my backyard. So I already knew the visual and the stretch of river I wanted to be in. So that helps, you know, your location is everything in film. And so that to me, it just always resonated in me. I was like, I gotta shoot here someday. And finally the right time came, and I had nothing but time during COVID. So I asked a couple of my friends to help me out and fly the drone. Cloud was one of them. I had Venom also running around shooting BTS on his little iPhone, just to have the memories of it, because it was such a fun experience. But the landscape was just like so perfect. I mean, I couldn't have asked for the weather to be any better as well. There were a lot of negative things that happened as well, but not like, it ended up being positive later because it's a fun story. But basically, I almost died a few times. I almost drowned a few times in that river because those rocks were massive. Yeah. They're unpredictable. You like the way that the water would pull you. You don't know what rock you're gonna hit. I hit my butt. You know, your ankle feels like it's just gonna snap because I'm flying. Like the whole movie is in slow-mo, so it looks beautiful to watch, but in real time it's not beautiful to watch in real time. It's chaotic. It was crazy. I didn't have a playback speaker, so because it wouldn't work, because it would disconnect as it started to go. It was too far away. And then I had a speaker in my guitar. I put it in the sound hole, but the water would fill in the guitar immediately. And it would sink me like a weight. And then I couldn't hear the speaker. It was just, you know, underwater. So would that happen right away? And I realized, okay, I'm going to have to just double time in my head. So I'd get out and like, I'm from the river, she's from the sea. I remember the horses, she waits for me. I'm like, okay, let's go. jump in,
wow,
lay down, and like action, and like I'm from the river, she's from the sea, and it's like it was just all such a crazy experience. People were walking by filming on their phones, like, "What are you doing out there? And is it for a music video?" And, like, it was just crazy. But there was this one moment I finally kind of just like relaxed and just stared into the sky, and I remember like I don't want to forget this. This is such a cool thing I'm doing. It's a risk I'm taking with my life even, which sounds so silly, but it really was.
Yeah.
There was a lot of undertow. That river it's the Deschutes River, so it's just crazy. And then there's a set of rapids in the video that I hit in the middle of the song.
Yeah.
Those rapids are literally what almost took me out. So it was like, you can see I grab onto that rock.
Yeah.
Right before I let go, I'm just like, here we go.
Jeez.
You know, and I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know if I would have to like just ditch the guitar. No clue. We planned it out to know like, okay, like let's go hit that now. Like we got the beauty stuff. Let's go try the crazy stuff. And even the beauty stuff was it was hard. But that part of the river was like, if there was like a, I don't know, park ranger out there or something, he would have said, you need to get out of here. Because luckily nothing bad happened. I sent that shiz. I don't know if you can cuss on here.
Yeah, you can swear. Yeah, go.
I sent that shit. And it was so fun. I don't think I could do it again. It was funny because it was a one take. It was what it was, because like it wasn't worth risking my life for it, but to do it twice, it was worth it the first time. But the beauty in it, man, you're right. Like it was. So it's always interesting to be at the mercy of nature, and so I think that also had a lot of symbolism in the song. To me, the song represents the relationship I have with my wife. Us coming from very different parts of life, very different people. And we also were apart for a very long time when we first started dating. So I won't go into too much detail of the song, but
sure,
you know, it really did feel like a great marriage. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. It's so interesting how like things that are so uncomfortable and like a little bit less safe end up being so much more beautiful. Like there's so much beauty in it. I'm also curious about like other discomforts that you've experienced in your life that have like led to some beautiful things. What's so interesting is like it's very rare that I meet someone in music who I'm like, oh my gosh, this person feels very wise to me. Like very like the majority of musicians live in like the land of insecurity, which you also like live in as well. But but the general impression of you on the people around you is like, Meekoh is my family. Meekoh makes a space for us. Like Meekoh, like it's this feeling of like Meekoh is home. Like there's a lot of people that surround you that seem to look up to you, and that doesn't come from nothing. So like, where does some of that come from?
I mean, that means a lot, man. It's like one of the nicest things to hear.
This is the majority of this has been behind your back that people have said nice things to me.
I guess I just don't have a choice but to just be myself and to love the way I love. And I don't feel like there's one thing that makes me feel the way I feel towards people. Like I either, you know, gravitate around certain people or I don't. And even people I don't gravitate around, I still have an immense amount of like love for them. I just sometimes, you know, it's like you can't be friends with everyone. You know,
that's
you just
love
can't.
With space. You know?
But I think a lot of it is I don't know. I guess a lot of it could be from my past. I definitely went through a lot when I was younger. I was homeless throughout almost all of high school. Well, I wasn't homeless. I lived with a lot of different families, but different homes throughout high school. Me and my father had a big fallout right before my freshman year of high school, and I just left home, and it was pretty hard. But I think what is it called? Departmentalize?
Compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize. A lot of that during that time, I just thought, I get to hang out with my friends more, you know, or something. So, and be on my own and do what I want. And then eventually me and him, you know, reconciled and are like best friends now, which was really cool. But that might have had something to do with it. Just realizing like how valuable people are. People took me in and loved on me and gave me a home. People, you know, believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And I was a pretty strong Christian for a very long time as well. During that period, the Johnson family, shout out to Bryson, his family. I was at football practice with him one day, like my junior year, and he was just like, "Hey man, like throwing the football," and he's just like, "My family, my parents want you to come over tonight. They want to talk to you." And I was like, "Sure, come hang out. It'll be fun." I didn't know what for, but when I showed up later that night, they sat me down in the living room and said that they wanted to take me in and let me live with them. Cool. But one of the only you know, requirements is that I would go to church with them on Sundays. So I was like, yeah, of course, that's no brainer. Which is actually how I got into music, because of that. Yeah, I saw this guy, my youth pastor, playing guitar one day on stage, and I, after service, ran up and was like, "Can I play that?" And he's like, and he bends down off the stage and hands me his guitar. And he's like, "Yeah, man, go ahead." And I'm like, "What do I do?" And he's like, "You don't know how to play?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Just take it home and learn." And he just gave me his guitar, and I'll never forget that. So that's what I mean. It was just so many things, I think, that over time, it shaped me. I was like, I want to have that kind of love. I want to be somebody who treats people with respect and kindness. And I'm not perfect at, I'm not perfect at that at all. I think over so much love being given to me throughout my life, I just wanted to give it back. And when I meet people too, I always try and see the person, not the mask sometimes that we wear. And there's some people that mask is either very thin or it's already gone. Yeah. And those are the people that I think I gravitate the most towards right away. Yeah. Sometimes there's people with a big mask, and I kind of have fun trying to break through that, because I want to see who they are. I want them to see who they are, you know? Yeah, but you're one of those people. I told you that right in the beginning. Like, I really admired just your energy, and I could tell even through your songs and the way you perform that you're not trying to fake anything. You're just very genuine. And I'm sure you battle with everything just like any artist does, where you second guess yourself, you second guess the journey. Am I wearing the right thing? Do I sound the right way? But at the end of the day, you know, there's these moments you have when you're alone with music, and the music just is what it is. No one else knows but you. And I think that that's something that I really try to remember even in my friendships, is like, how are we when we're alone? If it's just me and Connor hanging at my house, chilling and talking, how should that be any different than when we're out with like a crowd of people? I want to treat those people the same as I treat him, and I want them to treat me vice versa, you know? So I know that's a long-winded way of answering that, but it's kind of just been, you know, an experience in life that just continues to grow. And I always want to grow as well. I don't want to ever feel like, you know, oh, I'm just this nice guy. Like, I don't ever think about that. I just think every day I wake up, and even in the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to give myself positive affirmations, because I actually beat myself up a lot. I can tend to be so negative to myself, but it's so easy for me to see someone like you and be like, oh my God, this guy is so talented. And like, why is he not famous? And why is this? And everyone needs to hear his music. So easy for me to like look at others that way. But when it comes to myself, I even have a hard time hearing you give me compliments, which is something I continue to work on. Yeah. So yeah, but thank you. And it means a lot, because to me, this life is so damn short. It's like there are no guarantees, and I just want nothing but like joy, if possible, in my friendships and in my life. And through hardships, I want to hurt with my friends because they're hurting. Yeah. And I want to like be able to look back when we're old and just be like, you remember when we did that podcast, dude? And like, we're just getting to know each other. That's like so funny, you know? Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah. It sounds like, I mean, you already said it, which is like paying you're like paying forward a lot of the love from strangers back onto strangers, like as you go on. And I'm sure that's like it does repay it in a way. It's like passing it forward, which is, I don't know, just a really good reminder to care for people you don't know about. That I feel like that's the thing that I'm trying to get at with you and people like you, is the immediate respect towards people before you know who they are. So you're going to default to respect and kindness, and you don't assume superiority. And that it's been an interesting thing, like moving into LA and being like, oh, like people are really trying to figure out pecking order in a lot of situations, and being like, great, I'm more talented than him, but I'm less talented than her, so I'm going to be really kind to her, and I'm not going to hang out with him. And it's just like there's a little bit of that, but then there are other people who are just like, if they just find anyone they like, they're going to talk to the person they like.
Yeah, dude. Man, I'm so glad that you think of things like that. It's refreshing to hear, because a lot of us know this, but we don't talk about it, or we don't even like acknowledge it to each other. It's like, I have so many talented friends. I could go on and on, you know, and just name like, oh, this person works with this person tours with this person, I met this guy and he's going to help me. It's like everyone in LA, as you have heard, does something, so, and knows someone who knows someone. So it's like,
yeah,
you're so right. And it's so sad, because who the fuck cares? Like, who cares? I've met so many talented people, way more talented than me in my mind, and they have like no Instagram followers. They've never played a show before. Like, I mean, like, I'm serious. It's like, it's so silly to think that we're above anybody, especially in the art world. It's like, there's enough for everyone to share. And that's something I'm really trying to fully implement in my friendships and in my life, because it is so easy to get your ego in the way. Yeah. It's so easy to be like, how does this person have so many in streams and followers? Like, I've been doing this for like over 10 years, and they just posted a thing the other day and it went viral, and now they're like 100,000 followers. It's like, and it can be like such a toxic way to exist. Yeah. You don't even realize what your thoughts do, you know, how they're gonna affect you, your significant other, your animals, like seriously, it's like, even my dog, like if I'm having a bad day, like she's not getting the love that she normally gets, you know. It's like, and it's all because of a mindset that we continue to, you know, harbor within this body. It's like, why waste so much time and energy on being negative and being jealous and insecure? And I'm not saying that it's not normal to feel that. Yeah. What's not normal is to continue the pattern to where it becomes a way of living. You see, like that's why for you to acknowledge that is such an important thing that people need to understand. We need to lift each other up, inspire each other, love on each other, help each other to accomplish the things that we probably couldn't have done without that person's help. That's something I love about my brother, Cloud. The most talented guy I've ever met. Like, always just, doesn't matter what he does. He just, if he wants to do it, he'll do it. And when he does it, it's got to be amazing. And it's not because he like, I don't know, he's just naturally gifted, and people know that. And there's a lot of people that try and take advantage of people like him and want to like, you know, can you help me make a video? Can you do this? Can you do that? And people just forget to like value him, just love him, and stop wanting from him. Because the truth is, there's, like I said, there's a lot of people. You could even use me or I don't know, I have a few other friends. I don't have that many social media followers. So it's like, and I don't get hit up a lot for things, because I think people can, like you said, put a value and a tier on individuals in LA. It's like, can they help me? Yeah. If they can help me, then I'm going to be their friend. I want to see if they can help me. If they can't help me, or they're more in the middle area, like they're cool, And then if it's like nothing going on, like you're not really worth my time. And I think that that's just so sad. And I don't know. I know I'm rambling on about this, but it's really important. It is, in my opinion, the saddest thing that we do to ourselves as creatives, as artists, is when we are comparing ourselves to every other person judging others and thinking that there's not enough room in the world for everyone to coexist and share their art. Because it's just a lie. It's not true at all. Like, you and me have dark hair. We have a little ethnic vibe. We have a very soulful, smooth, buttery vocal like style. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and you could literally be like, I could have like not even asked you to play at the house show. Because I'd be like, I don't really want someone that has a similar thing to me. But the reality is we're not similar at all.
Yeah.
We're totally different people with a totally different sound. I actually am a big fan of what you do in your music. So I was just like stoked that you wanted to do it. And also, like, you cultivate such an amazing moment when the speaker or something stopped working and you just stepped forward and you just started playing. I was like, that's a showman. That guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to engage with people in a way to create an experience that they're not going to forget. And in my opinion, that's like what we should all be doing, is just encouraging each other to like work towards being able to be a pro like you. In that way. But anyways, man.
No, I really care about this topic because it's touching on like your past as a child. Like you move out as a 15-year-old, as a 14-year-old or whatever, and you're going out there with nothing to give, you know? There's nothing you can give someone who's middle-aged with a house, you know, as a high school kid. It's like, so really, like, what if they treated you like musicians treat each other? Like,
oh man, yeah, so true.
You would have been homeless.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And it's the exact opposite. When you realize what the opposite thing does is when you extend love, like genuine love, without expecting anything in return to someone who, like, you know, they can't pay it back. Like, the consequences are positive in every direction. Like, think about like one person who put you up as a kid. Like the payment, the investment payment of love that they put into you, let's call it like 10 units of love. It's not that they received it back. That's not where that paid off. But what happened is you became a type of person who sends out 10 units every day. And so it's like, so the payout is like that energy just gets spread like crazy throughout your life because of this one person who barely gave anything. Yeah. And it's a positive example. And what's sad is that the same thing happens in the negative way. It's like, if you were treated poorly over and over again, you would be like people who are, I'm noticing, like, especially there seems to be a correlation with like people who are doing really well and like have had certain very high experiences. They have been treated like they were nothing in a lot of areas. And so they feel like that's the way to treat people. It's like,
yeah, man. I hope you know too, you know, like, cause I know you struggle with that stuff. I think we all do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I hope you know too that, like, you know, I got your back, and if you ever need anything, you know, and a lot of this isn't, you know, like I said, it's not because I'm not trying to be a nice guy. I just am me. And I think that's the point. It's like, you are you, you know, you're hosting this thing because it's what you feel like you need to do. And that's how I feel in my life, you know, with my music. I feel like I need to do it. I don't have a choice. When I'm talking with my friends, if I start feeling a certain way and overthinking something, like, I'm like, why are you doing that? Yeah. You know, just be yourself. And well, because honestly, man, when I first came to LA, like, it was a lot of confusion. It's like, I was trying to write songs just to make people think I was good at writing songs. I was trying to write songs for, like, maybe potentially for Bieber to hear or whoever. Yeah. You know, because I just wanted to make money. I wanted to get shot, like, through the atmosphere as an artist and just be, like, somebody. And there's a lot of pressure in it, you know, when you have family and people that supported you all these years. You feel like you sacrificed so much and they sacrificed so much. You feel like you're a failure if you don't accomplish something, like, on a big scale. But there's no time frame for success. And success doesn't have to be what everyone, what our society has kind of shaped it to be. To me, success is like I have these guitars.
Yeah.
When I first started playing music, I was borrowing guitars for years. I
Jeez.
think I didn't own my first guitar for like until like 3 years into doing music.
Wow.
I was just always borrowing guitars. Even all these guitars, I'm actually, shout out to Breedlove,
Yeah.
because you're with Breedlove, you know,
I'm with
like they
Breedlove.
sponsored me, and that was something I was never expecting either. And over time, like I just started to, I don't have much. I just have the things I love. We're actually having a yard sale if you want to come by soon.
Nice.
Getting rid of even more things, but
Nice.
yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really appreciative of what I have, the people I have. I don't really know where I'm going with that anymore, but
No, it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that phrase. I don't have much, but I have what I love.
yeah, that's what
That's-
we can write a song together. I'll put that in the lyrics.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a great sentiment.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great right now. Are you just asking in general?
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing.
How's life?
Tired.
for you?
The answer is tired. I am working too hard at the moment because I need money. So
Bro.
money, like work is coming in. So I'm just having to say yes to everything at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we like dug ourselves into a little bit of a hole by like not like an actual hole, but like, you know, we like had a certain amount of money and we're like, okay, well that money's gone.
Yeah.
So we like still have this buffer, but let's not dip into our savings to
Yeah.
move to Los Angeles. So now it's like real, like I'm driving to Santa Barbara 2 to 3 times per week to do gigs. I was like in Dana Point on Friday, then Santa Barbara on Saturday, then stayed the night, then like came here on Sunday, played last night downtown, and like hanging out with friends. It's just it because I'm spending so much time working in Santa Barbara, and I'm like, I want to catch up with all the Santa Barbara people and like spend time with my sister and her husband and my nephew, and like there's so many good things. And that part of me being here has been learning how to set boundaries with myself and saying like I need to say no to things before I burn out, because I know that I'm kind of always on the cusp of burning out, and then I'm like, whoa, I'm actually pretty good at avoiding burnout these days. I'm just like, today's like a full horizontal day. Like I'm not gonna get up. I'm just gonna lay down and like do some computer work. And
Dude, well, first, don't get too lost in financial woes. And I know I'm like 100% with you, man. I haven't had jobs, and so I don't know if you saw, even like I just started trying to like reach out and let people know I'll even write songs for them, you know, like I posted on Instagram, like now booking if you need me to write you or a loved one a song. I mean, our film company's been so focused on some feature film stuff that's in the works that we're not even taking jobs. COVID, same, bro. I feel you, and I just want to encourage you not to let yourself get too lost in the negative feelings you can go dive into because of financial things. It's just stressful. It's anxiety. It creates depression. I lived in that for so long, and it's a mindset. It really is. And I'm still like I'm struggling too financially. So I get it. I'm taking jobs as well. You do have to find time for yourself, and I think that staying, what'd you say, horizontally is such a perfect way of putting it. Like, chill on that couch, binge watch some stuff with the wife, enjoy your day, because you've been putting in the work, obviously, and your body's telling you need that. And I've been having to try and remind myself of the same thing, because there's days where I'm just like, but I could be posting more, I could be making this, I could try and do this, and you're stressing, you know. But it's hard out in LA. They just raised our rent over here too. It's like, you know, it's like every time we think we're starting to like kind of get back to like coasting for a sec, something happens. That's part of your story. That's part of your wife's story, and it makes the rewards that much more beautiful when they happen. And I really do believe in you. I mean, you're super talented, dude. Like I think like we could after this sometime meet up and even put our heads together on a way to like maybe book some shows that are even a little smarter for us. Like that's something that I had to go through for a while. Like when I see all the shows and stuff you're doing, it reminds me so much of when I was doing that for so long, and it's so draining, but it's still, I miss it. I love playing. Like, I don't take it for granted. Some of those shows are very draining. And it leaves you feeling like, why am I doing this still?
Sure, yeah.
And but there is a smarter way, and I know you know that. I've watched some of your things, and you're really wise as well about how you share your information about, you know, touring and booking shows and how to go through obstacles on stage. But one of the hardest things, especially during this season of music, I've realized is people have such a hard time finding venues that pay you what you're really worth. And us as artists, we start to sacrifice that. I'm not saying you do. I don't know what you do, but we can sacrifice so much of like what we're really worth. Because there's some shows I used to play for tacos, dude. You know what I mean? Like, just beers and food and whatever. And then eventually I was like, $50 for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know? And then at some point I realized like my worth, and I was like, I mean, the lowest I could probably go is like $2,000. And then I started booking between $2,000 to $5,000. And then I didn't have to play so many little taco shops and things. And I would still take shows like that if it was for the right people. Because I still had relationships I had built with people I really loved playing for. And that's something that I think we could definitely, like, there's some really cool places out here in LA. There's like vineyards. There's a Rosenthal winery that I think pays pretty good sometimes. But anyways, well, I think we could work together on that too, because I've been wanting to start booking again and playing, just because I would much rather be in front of people performing than sitting in front of my computer screen all day trying to do that, which I'd actually like to talk about that. I don't know how much time we have on here, but I would like to hear your thoughts on TikTok and social media and all that stuff, and where you sit as far as like waiting for something to pop off and kind of go viral and all that. Like, what's your whole outlook?
When you set an external goal of like, I'm doing TikTok videos in the hopes that something goes viral. Viral can kind of mean a lot of things, but let's call it like at least 1 million views on a video. I'm gonna post a video every day for 2 months in the hopes that one of them gets over 1 million views. So if that's the reason why, then every day that you do it is technically a disappointment, right? So that's a hard way to live, because every day is just a reminder that you're not getting your goal and you're not who you want to be and you're a failure, right? So that's bad. So that's not how you want to set goals. That's not how I'm trying to set goals. So it's like, what is it that I'm trying to do when it comes to like my social media presence, which is like, I want to share information that has been hard earned, something that could actually benefit someone else. And I want to just be curious about what happens. I have actually like very little expectation about what happens, but when I first started doing this, like, I've been posting every day now for over 2 months. It's been like 2.5 months. Random, like, I'll get like random flack from friends, and they'll be like I'll show up to a gig and they'll be like, "Hey, Connor Cherland, 1,000 gigs in 6 years. That's tight." And I'm like, yeah. And that's
I
funny.
love, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, love that.
Yeah, it was a great tag to start out with. The first person who said that to me is like a medium famous singer-songwriter out in Alaska. Like, and I was like, I was pretty sure you were not looking at my content ever before. So that's really interesting. I'm like, I got hired by to do a bunch of gigs out in Montecito, and the person hiring me is like watching all of these videos, and he like referenced it one day when it was really windy. He was like, you know, like you say in your videos, like, don't talk about the wind, you know, make it about the people. And me being like, my gosh, I'm like, he's seeing what it's doing is it's expanding people's view of my expertise. They're like, oh, not only is he's talented, but he's also incredibly thoughtful about everything that goes into this. Like, every piece of equipment here has been picked and honed over 6 years. And isn't that interesting? Like, don't you want to know, like, why? Like, literally everything that I have here is like the bag that I use, the cart that I use. Like, every single thing has a purpose.
One of my favorites was the tablecloth.
Yeah.
You're like, I had this thing for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, R.I.P.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like weird stuff like that where people are like, yeah, bring like I've had friends bring their own table, but they don't like make it look nice with like a tablecloth, and it's like
I even thought like, oh man, I forgot to set up a table at the show for people, but yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
Oh no. So it's like what I think it's doing is it's making. I feel like the biggest thing it's done for me is help me get over my own fear and ego around how will I be perceived posting these videos, because there are people more experienced than me who could actually give better insights, and I'm aware of that. But they're not sharing it, and if they are, I'm not seeing it. So I'm gonna post the thing that I also have expertise on it, and maybe not as much, but like if someone were to come to me and be like, "Man, you're not qualified," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not as qualified as someone else, but like this certainly works." Like
I would actually disagree. I think you are extremely qualified, and also there's more artists that are in your, I would say, far more rare to meet someone who is in the 1%, like an Ed Sheeran. Then there's, like you said, a medium tier, let's say, of artists as well, which there's not that many of those either. But there's a lot of people who are learning, a lot of people who are at a point where they're just trying to figure things out, and they're just trying to, how can I get better at this? Or what is it like to play at any show, like, period. And you provide such amazing insight, and it's quick little bits of information that, like, it's so funny. I watch quite a few, and every time I'm like, oh, I remember those days, or I remember that. And it's so, that's why I admire it, because it's very honest. You're not trying to tell people this is the Bible way of doing it. It's like, you're just giving them bits and pieces of such beautiful pieces of advice, and that, take it or leave it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is, to your credit, like, you were giving me compliments at first, but I think it's really cool that you found a way to give back to the world in your own way, in that way. I'm sure there's plenty other ways, but on social media, you could have chose a lot of things to talk about very easily, and you decided, I'm going to give back, and I'm going to do it this way. And help artists. Like we were saying, like, you could keep all that information to yourself and not even tell people the places you're playing, because you don't want them to try and get gigs at the same spots. But like I said, it's like, we should all just be sharing. We should all be, lifting each other up, and you do that very well. So,
well, thank you. Yeah, so that's my view of TikTok and the internet. There's a lot of power right now in vertical videos, and consistent vertical videos seems to be like kind of the way for for a lot of people to move forward. I love writing, and I spend time every day writing, but I also spend time every day like thinking about like what is my social media strategy, like doing like booking myself. There's all the other admin to the job as well. So I try to take that seriously, like I do writing as well.
I just signed up. I don't know if you tried this, but for the Instagram Reels bonus pay thing, have you seen that?
I haven't seen that.
You should look. I don't know if you have to be a creator. I don't know if you're signed up your account as a creator or business or whatever, but they've been hitting me up for like a month or two about it, and I always just say no, not interested. But I talked to my friend Corinne. Shout out Corinne. She's kind of a mid-tier influencer as well. Does like stunts and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I tried it out for a little. I got like $100 right away, and then it kind of slows down. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm always kind of like you said earlier. Like, I'm trying to say yes to things lately, because I'm also hurting financially right now, where I'm like, I just need some extra income. Yeah. So I was like, this thing keeps screaming in my face. I'll just give it a shot. So I look at it like, I'm already posting on consistently in the last couple of weeks as well. I just started to try and figure out my thing. That's why I redid my studio. I'm trying to get more like lighting going and figure out like an easy way to feel comfortable so I can be consistent. And I just thought I'd give it a shot. So I literally, before we started this, I just finished signing the little tax form on there. But I think that it's something that I wanted to share with you, just because I'm like, hey, like, if you're going to be consistently posting reels, why not make a little extra cash from it? And that money could go towards your phone bill, gas. Even if it's like $50 a month, that could be towards music marketing.
Absolutely.
Like whatever. But I for me, with the whole viral thing, I couldn't picked a better way of saying it than the way you did at first. Like, that was such a beautiful way. I hope you use that soundbite even for this podcast, like when you post, because I think people need to hear how important it is not to be chasing viralness.
Yeah.
You should be focusing on your heart, your mind, your spirit, your friendships, your relationships, and your art. And when you get to your art, it shouldn't be, how can this be like you said, every single day, how can this be like viral? It's like, no, just how can this have some kind of meaning, purpose to yourself? How can it help somebody? How can it create some kind type of emotion? Like, and from there, I think people will gravitate towards whatever it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, in their own way. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, who cares? And that's so hard, dude. Like, so hard. I'm not gonna lie, you know, I spend a lot of time trying to analyze what makes things go.
Yeah.
And then you start going, oh, well, now I have to understand the human condition, the psyche of this culture we're in. Yeah. What is it about indie folk music people like to hear and see? And I go through watching videos and I'm like, oh, this person like, hey guys, what's up? Da, da, da. And then all of a sudden they're singing. And this person just uses text all over the place. And this person like slides into the camera and then starts playing. Like, and you start to analyze everything. And I do think that there is like a level of like, you should do your homework for sure, because you want to like, you know, you do want to give an honest shot at what you're creating. In my opinion, to like, how's the best way to say this? Like, I don't know. There are certain formulas that work better than others. For example, low lighting. If I have really bad lighting in my videos and I just keep doing that, it's proven that they don't do as well as videos that have really good lighting, natural lighting especially. So that's something that people should think about. But if I'm sitting there judging the way I look, you know, and all those type of things, like, that's just insecurities. That's not furthering my ability to create like a beautiful image. But anyways, yeah, it's complicated. I've seen a lot of my friends blowing up lately, and to keep a consistently positive mindset is hard, because you're like, when is my turn? You know, when will one of my songs go? And all of a sudden like we said earlier, you lose focus of celebrating your friends, because the first thought you have is like, oh, I gotta post something now. And you want to try and do it like what they did, just thinking it'll replicate something the same way, but it just doesn't work that way. Like, social media is its own beast, dude. It's something that I'm thankful for, because it's a way to share your art, and I'm very thankful for that. But the negative side is something we create within ourselves, and I hope that, you know, as we continue to go down this path as artists, we get better and better at not being so insecure.
Yeah, it seems that seems to be one of the big challenges. I always say that musicians are some of the most insecure people on the planet.
By far. I mean, who else wants just like thousands of people to love them?
Right? Yeah.
You know? Like, who does that? You wake up every day and you're like, I just want everyone in the world to hear my music.
My one wish.
Yeah, I've shifted that too. I've kind of come to a place where I do want my music to reach as many people as possible, but I want it to reach the people that it's supposed to reach. You know what I mean? Like, I do believe in the power of that, which is, I know it's not for everyone, but I want it to find the ones that it is for. That's all. You know? Is that too much to ask?
No.
You know what I mean? No.
You're a hardworking guy.
I feel the same for you, though. It's like, it's true. It's like, there's this, you know, Liam. So our friend Liam is just the most talented singer. He's just crazy talented. Yeah. Amazing writer. And I remember when he used to come out to my shows when I was in Bend, Oregon, and he had never even, like, he barely could play guitar. He really loved one of my songs called Love Patiently, and he'd always ask me to play it and teach it to him. I took quite a few years off of music and just focused on film and kind of family, and just kind of gave up music. And I felt like during that time that I stopped, he decided, I'm going to do this as a career. That dude never looked back. He went full force. Social media, he was marketing himself. He was writing every day. He went through some really hard times in his life as well, but he didn't let it deter him from his his vision of who he wanted to be as an artist. And it's just shown like that if you believe in yourself enough, you really can achieve some pretty amazing things. Like the dude is just killing it. He's like #1 blues artist on the charts for like the past like month, like dipping out in and out.
Yeah.
And I'm just acknowledging him because I think that there is something about being dedicated to yourself and your craft, believing in yourself. He still has his moments where he needs, you know, pep talks here and there too, but it's like we all need that. That's why this is such a healthy platform that you provide, because it allows us to talk about this shit, man, and be able to be honest and vulnerable. And but I hope, you know, like in the near future that we're able to look back on these conversations and just feel like we're still growing and always growing. And I don't know. Just, I think there's a point in your life as an artist, especially, where you have to decide, is this what you really want? If this is what you really want, are you willing to give it your all? And what does your all entail? Because like sometimes we convince ourselves that your all is like, I'll do 1 video a day. But like there's some people that are doing multiple videos, multiple songs in a day, booking shows in a day, vocal lessons, guitar lessons, like, you know, like, and that's what he was doing. He was like, every day he was like, it was just a job, you know. But I really admire that guy for that, because it was funny to me. It was one of those things where it actually I checked myself. I was like, I've been doing this shit for like over 10 years. He's like, he used to come into my shows. Like, it's like we were saying earlier, you can look at someone and be like, I did more than they did. But the truth I did my own thing in my own way. I was trying to make money, not fans. I was trying to impress people with songwriting, not with who I was as an artist personally. I had all of my I don't know, I just had it all different than I thought I was. I thought I had it all together, but it was not what it should have been. Or maybe it was then, and now I just know what it should be now, you know? Yeah. But yeah, man.
It's very interesting. You mentioned it being hard to receive compliments earlier. What that is it's like, I don't necessarily believe the good things when they come my way. But then there's also this instinct of like when your friends are experiencing progress and success, of being like, you're taking that as a negative sign of like, and I do this as well. Like one of my friends also just like went viral in the last year, and it like, I like had a real heart check, and I was like, my God, like good for him. Like he was able to quit his job, and like his whole life has changed, and like everything. It's beautiful. And I honestly love the guy. I wish him all the success in the world. But like, it's that feeling of like, really the default should be, it can happen to them, so it can happen to you.
Exactly.
There is a bit of luck involved in it, and there are some people who don't get what it is that they sought after the whole time, and I think it's our job as we age to kind of determine whether or not that's going to be worth it for us. If what we're after, if what we really need is some external validation, or if we're really just in it to be artists. And I think that there's actually like no shame in either answer.
Yeah, it's also your pride and your ego. Like you got to learn to let it go fully, because then you know you're making the right choice based off of what you really feel in your heart versus what your insecurities are telling you, you know? And I think that I struggle with that all the time. I was like, maybe I should just do film. That's it. Just stop doing music. I'm not making money. I even with, you know, you have a wife, it's like you don't want to leave your wife all the time. You know, it's just like you start thinking about what it's like on the road all the time. And then I also think, well, if I give up, then that means I gave up, you know? And another thing too that I forgot to say in the very beginning of this whole thing is in high school, I was voted most likely to live in Albany forever, which is it's still in the yearbook to this day. It's like most likely to live in Albany forever. And then my name, and like
it's a pretty messed up category.
It was like best athlete, best dressed, best smile, most likely to have a, like $1 million company, and then most likely to live in Albany forever was me.
Damn.
And I think that, it was my senior year, and nobody knew, like, I was a good kid. I was in sports. Like, I was friends with everyone, the skaters, the jocks, like everyone. But nobody knew the struggles I was going through except for Bryce, the guy, my friend that I was living with. But I missed so much school, and a lot of things were happening to where I think people had this perception of me as like this kid that just didn't really care about school or anything. But I remember how hard that hit me.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, they must think that. Like, it was voted by everybody.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It wasn't just like one guy didn't like me and put it in there. Like, the whole school votes on it in high school.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time trying to prove him wrong for those first few years.
Yeah.
And I thought music is the tool to show them. I finally found something, right? I was like, I found something to show the world, like, I can do something great and prove everybody wrong. Fast forward, I don't even think about that almost ever. If I do think about it, it's because I'm proud of myself for letting it go and understanding that, like, my wife, her opinion matters more to me than proving anybody wrong. My friendships and seeing my friends grow and become successful, not just financially, but in life. Just like finding their groove, finding peace, finding sobriety, like all these kinds of things that have way more value than anything that fame could bring. And so for me, I'm proud of myself. I'm learning to give love to myself. I'm proud of myself for letting go of trying to prove people wrong, because it's also a very toxic way to exist. It's a very similar mindset of, like, every day it's thinking, why am I not going viral? Why am I not going viral? And every day if I'm thinking, I gotta prove him wrong, I gotta prove him wrong, it's like, at what point? What am I, when I win a Grammy, I gotta go, and everyone in high school, fuck you guys. It's like, it just doesn't matter at that point too. Like, we're all just kids and no one really knew me. So I'm proud of myself because I've learned that the most important thing in our lives is the time that we spend with people. And that's it. Yeah. The time you get to spend with your wife before it's over. Yeah. That's it. Your dad, your mom, whoever. Everything else is irrelevant. And once I finally started to tell myself this every day, as I'm creating something and I start feeling pressure, I'm like, let it go. Doesn't matter. Just try to enjoy what you're doing, because you only get to do this once in your life, and then it's over. That really changed a lot for me and helped me to be balanced as a human, But it's an everyday thing, and I just hope that resonates with you. But
absolutely, living in the present instead of living for future outcomes is something that I've been really practicing in the last few months. Well, we are far over the hour. Do you have interest in playing us a song?
Yeah, I guess I can. I'm just running through the songs that aren't too high because I haven't warmed up yet.
Oh, yeah.
This one is, so I'll do the one I wrote with my wife. Coffee in the morning, memories on the wall, orange fades into us. Oh, the warmth of a belly, weight of a head, two hearts and a lovely plan. Ooh. Little clippy for you. Dude, so what I was thinking is, next time we do one of these, because I have a hard time talking about myself, so I appreciate you pulling things out. And I also felt like I talked way too much, but I would love to do another one sometime where we just talk about the most random things, almost like a even if you didn't post it, but like a Joe Rogan type thing where we're just talking about things to get to know each other on the outside of music, because I think that's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that much about you either, so it's like aliens, drugs.
Yeah, well, we can end with a random question about drugs. You wanna tell me some thoughts about drugs?
Hell yeah. I can tell you this. I've learned in the last, I think it's like been 2 years. About 2 years. I've learned more in the last 2 years of my life than I have in my whole life. And I think I owe a lot of that to marijuana and shrooms. I really, really believe that. I'm not huge into all of that stuff, really, but I do enjoy it. But weed, in particularly, has helped me to sleep better, because I've suffered with insomnia for a long time.
Yeah.
And sleep is crucial, as you know. Also helps with my anxiety. Whenever I had anxiety attacks and things and depression, I was really depressed, going through really dark times. That brought me a lot of balance. And then shrooms just took me to another world that I didn't know was there, which I think is so important, because I think if we think that this is all that exists, which is just us, if you think you're the only thing that matters and you're the only thing that, it's like, I think people live as if it's our life is like the movie. It's like the movie, right? And instead of like, we're part of gigantic universal movie that everyone's in. And sometimes it's nice actually to pull yourself out of the movie and not be in that movie and just watch other people and enjoy other people in that movie. Because it's really easy to be selfish and self-centered, especially as an artist. So shrooms in particular helped me to experience that on a level I didn't know existed. And once I did that, I almost had this, or I guess I did have this life-changing experience. So that is my view on drugs, kids. I think that if you're going to do them safely, recreationally, with someone you trust. I'm not telling you to do them. I'm just suggesting that if you were to do them, that would be the way to go. Safe environment, especially on shrooms. Make sure you got lots of nature, beautiful things around, because if you want to experience something that is going to be powerful, then you need to be ready for that power.
That sounds like a beautiful experience that you had. What led you up to the experience of trying shrooms? Like, what led up to you wanting to do that?
I've always had people offer me drugs.
It's the musician's life.
It's like, but I don't like getting drunk. I don't really drink at all. Even with weed, I had this really negative outlook on it for all my life until like 2 years ago. And then, I had a friend offer me some for my birthday, some weed. It's like some gummies. And then I had another friend offer me a joint. And then at some point, we just decided, like, it was me and my wife and 2 other friends. Cloud was one of them. We're like, you know what? Like, fuck it. Let's try this. Like, why not? All we've heard, and also we heard so many great things. Like, we were hearing like such life-changing stories from people we knew. So it was from people we trusted. It wasn't like just off of TV or like TikTok or something. It was like people we actually valued, and we're like, okay, if this person is telling me that it's done this for them, like, I gotta give it a shot. And why not? Like, why not? So we did. We set up my house with all kinds of cool lights, blankets and pillows everywhere. We put on like the Safari Nature Channel on my big screen. Like, I had Frank Sinatra playing in the kitchen. I mean, like, it was an experience, bro. I tell you, like, every area of my house, you've been to my house, the backyard was an experience, the kitchen was an experience, the living room, like, every part of my house was a different world. And I mean, we all went there. I took way too much in some people's minds for my first trip ever, but I'm so glad I did, because it really made me, like, it forced me to look at myself, like a real look into myself. And I was not the same person for like a month. I was like I don't even know what I don't know what life is. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But oh man, I totally just got like skyrocketed to another dimension. It felt like, and in the best of ways. It was a lot, but I'm so glad I did it. I'm gonna do it again lots of times. But I also don't do it because I'm trying to like just get high. I do it because I want to find a deeper me. Like I also want to find, or actually I want to find less of me in that way too. You know, like I want to just be like, who cares about Meekoh? I just want to like, you know, see the world through eyes that aren't jaded, that aren't like filled with insecurities and things like that. I just want to like have a fresh perspective. And boy, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried? Have you ever done anything like?
I haven't. No, I operate on some pretty high anxiety, kind of like regularly. It's like something that runs in my family. So I've never, I do think I would benefit from it, but there is a lot of me, like some of the stuff that I'll hear from other people who like talk about drugs on podcasts, because that's the thing you do on podcasts, is talking about like, if you're high on neuroticism, if that's one of your like higher traits, that's not necessarily like openness and neuroticism don't necessarily lend itself well to psychedelic experiences, because it can, one of the potential side effects is like a psyche break. Like people have psychotic breaks sometimes, and people like that. I've understood it that you're at a higher risk of a psychotic break if you are like very high in openness and neuroticism, which I assume that I am. So but what you're talking about sounds a lot like the result of meditation, which is like the point of meditation, or like there's no point of meditation, but one of the results of meditation is separating yourself from the mind and the body and being able to observe yourself, but like creating space from yourself is the whole point. And like being a, like when you're saying like less of you and being able to see it from eyes less jaded, like in the last few months, I feel like I've really been able to see thought patterns in ways I've never been able to see them. And like there's sometimes where a thought will come up at my door and be like, hey, you're never gonna get there, and I can see it now. And I can acknowledge it and like shake hands and be like, we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know. I do feel like I'm extremely interested is the truth. And there are some spaces where I feel like I could feel comfortable in that. I've had a couple experiences where I think that I no one knows if they were drug induced or if they were actually like something medically happened to me, like physiologically. Where I like went into the emergency room and I was like, I don't know why this is happening to me. And then being like, well, I think you're high. And me being like, I don't think I took anything. and that like that experience really scarred me to the point where I'm like, because it happened to me while I was like alone, unsupervised, and I didn't know that I was like potentially taking a drug. I don't know what happened. So
it's traumatizing.
So there's a little bit of trauma around drug, especially recreationally. But there's like, I definitely could see myself in the future working through some of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is true. Like anything they say, it's an individual experience. So, you know, everyone is going to experience something different, but I do think that there is ways to explore anything in micro doses or micro amounts. And that fear, if you step into something with fear, and then the thing you're stepping into increases whatever you're feeling, well, now your fear is increased. So you have a bad trip. What it is it's an understanding. If you understand what you're doing and what it is, even if you haven't felt it before, if you understand what it is and you are open and you're willing to let it happen, you know, they always say, like, don't fight it, right? Because when you fight it, what does that mean? It means your whole mindset is against whatever is happening. So when you do that, you're enabling yourself or disabling yourself even from experiencing the positive effects that this thing could potentially have for you. In my opinion, will have for you. Yeah, man, I think it really is about who you're with and how you choose to spend that time and how much of it you're using. Because if I gave you 0.5 milligram of a gummy, you're not going to get high, but you might feel a little something. If I gave you 5 milligrams, you're going to be pretty high for your first time. And if I gave you 10, you'd have a bad trip probably. You see what I mean? It's like smoking a joint. Like if you smoke that whole joint real fast, you're screwed. But if you just take a tiny little puff, you're going to cough a little and feel a little high, and that's it. Shrooms is very similar. It's actually, in my opinion, I think shrooms is actually a healthier alternative than weed even. Definitely healthier than drinking. If you drink, I don't know if you drink or have been drunk, that is far greater a negative impact in your life or a negative experience that you probably had than doing shrooms for sure. So, but again, it really comes down to how much you're doing. So but honestly, man, like I've had some bad trips before too. And every single time it was because I took way too much. I was afraid of what I was doing, or I was just in a really bad place in my life. And I shouldn't have been playing with, it's like you going through a bad breakup and you decide to go get wasted drunk at the bars that night. Like probably not a good idea. You know, you're going to make mistakes, whatever. You're going to be in more pain the next day. Like you might have some good songs come out of it. But it's really interesting because I don't know if you've watched any of the new shows on Netflix, but there's one called How to Train Your Mind. I would highly recommend watching that. And then there's another one called Fantastic Fungi. I would highly recommend watching both of those. I think it'll change your perspective. Doesn't mean that I think you should do it. I just think that if you're interested in ever doing it, it will give you a little bit more insight into why it could benefit you. But it's like anything. It's like I haven't done it in a long time, but I have a bunch, and I don't do it because I want to get high. Like I do it because if I feel like exploring my world a little bit in that moment. Or like last night, you know, me and my wife got high for fun just because we just wanted to. We were like cleaning and getting rid of stuff, and we're like, we should just get high really quick and just enjoy our evening. And I used to think that was crazy. I used to, as a Christian too, I was like, that is so wrong. Like, how could you do that? Now I just feel like a real artist, I guess. But no, man, I think it's cool that you also have that perspective of yourself, because that's why a lot of people do have bad trips, is because they don't ask themselves those questions like, where am I at? What could happen? And that way, when you do decide to do something, you can approach it with a safe mindset, and then just make sure you have someone to guide you, because they'll hopefully will understand where you're coming from and be able to facilitate like an experience that you will enjoy. That's not too powerful also, because if you just jump in like head first, like it's like exactly what happened to you, you know, you accidentally, whatever happened was too much, and so it just scared the shit out of you. You know, my wife had the similar experience. She got so high one night that she started crying, and her tears are what made her cry more, because she felt like they were too wet. And that was off of a gummy. And she was just like, my face is so wet. Like, I can't stop it. You know? And then later the next day, she's like laughing about it. But in the moment, you're just like, wow, this was like crazy. Man.
Yeah, well, I got no idea how to segue out of this to the subject into a close. But
well, I think I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I think that I really enjoyed being able to get to know you. I don't think that I know that. I know I really enjoyed getting to know you. Yeah, and I felt like I was just having a conversation with you. So that's really all I came here for, was just to get to know you a little better. And I wish you nothing but good luck and success and happiness as you continue to go along this podcast journey and your musical journey and your journey in LA. Yeah, thanks, dude. I'm glad that you came on, and we should do dinner soon. Let's do dinner. Do you golf or disc golf or anything? I'd be down for some disc golf. That'd be fun. I have a disc golf like right by my house. That sounds great. And I have some frisbees, so let's do it. Great. That sounds wonderful. Yeah, and we gotta go rock climbing still too. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and clap us out. Thank you kindly for listening to the podcast. It's really just an excuse for me to meet amazing people and learn from them. So if you liked this episode, feel free to take a look at some of the other artists I've talked to, or let me know if there's someone in your life who's a musician that you'd like me to talk to next. You can learn more about my music at connorcherland.com or find me on Instagram or Spotify under Connor Cherland, ConnerCherland. All right, see ya.